Well, one thing you'll notice is that you could say anti-dominants tend to be more sensitive to bringing meaning in terms of narrative, in terms of a story, right? Whereas SI dominants or strong SI users tend to be more sensitive to the idea of an account, of a factual rendition, not so much of storytelling. Right? That's not to say that there's no NI dominant that's a bit more like the latter description and that there's no SI dominant that's more into storytelling. Of course, nothing is exactly monolithic or set in stone, but overall, you notice the average NI dominant compared to the average SI dominant both have a very important relationship to time. You know, it's simply false once you get to hang out enough with both NI dominants and SI dominants. It's false that SI dominants are, predominantly past focused, and NI dominants are predominantly future focused. This is a misleading idea. It's just that NI dominants relate to the future differently than they relate to, than SI dominants relate to the future, and similarly with the past, and by implication with the present. PI, introvert perception, is a temporal function. The most important thing that you should always keep in mind about PI, whether it's in its NI variation or in its SI variation, is that these are temporal functions, both of them. And insofar as they're temporal, they are both past, present, and future, because they're not abstractly temporal. Okay, they're not temporal in the sense of a mathematical equation of representing the time as the fourth dimension. Okay, they're temporal in the sense of the experience of time. All right, and the experience of time is of course always happening at the crux, at the locus, where the past, the present, and the future meet. And that applies both to NI dominance and SI dominance in a big way. It's what dominates their lives in many ways, existentially and phenomenologically. However, SI is more discrete, discontinuous, and literal, whereas NI is more continuous and symbolic or metaphorical. This you do know, but we can get a little more precise, right? And I think that's maybe in addition to more precise, we can get a bit more concrete in terms of what it means for our everyday lives. Because if you give a lecture, or if you read an article, or you write an article, and you have an audience in mind, SI dominance and NI dominance are going to be vibrating to different textures and frequencies and tones. You don't attract the attention of an NI dominance in the same way that you attract the attention of an SI dominant, or a strong NI user or a strong SI user. That applies as well. So if you compare an INFJ and an ESFJ, that will also apply, okay? Or an ENTJ and an ESTJ, for example. Narrative and storytelling is much more of an NI trait, because narratives and stories are all about the continuity. They put the emphasis on how things connect with each other. The different parts of the story, the different parts of the narrative may not, if taken in themselves, be completely isolatable and discrete, or even sometimes that precise. They kind of flow into each other, and the very lack of high resolution literal precision is what allows this continuity to unfold. And high NI users are very sensitive to the flow, to the continuity between facts, so to speak. But what's important for an NI dominant, more than the facts themselves, are how facts are connecting with each other. Whereas for an SI dominant, what's most important is the integrity of the facts themselves prior to the possibility of their connecting to other facts. So another way that you can understand this via an image, if you like, is that if you picture like a narrative as a line, a dotted, a line with facts along that line, right? Points. Okay. For an NI dominant or a strong NI user, the line pre-exists the points. Points are added afterwards. Whereas for an SI dominant, the points pre-exist the line, and the line only emerges as a construction made of the points. Which also explains why SI dominants have this reputation, which is actually warranted, of tending to be quite skeptical and cautious, because they want to check that the points are okay first, before the line can slowly and with difficulty unfold in a way they consider reliable and doing justice to the series of particular facts that it is constituted of. For the flow of an NI user, strong NI user or NI dominant, what's important is the intuitive unfolding of the line itself. And if the points do not facilitate that, either they're not included or they are metaphorically rendered so as to exist within it. What's important is the movement and the flow. So there's more movement. Movements exist prior to the moments. Movement before the moments. Whereas in the case of SI, it's the moments before the movements. So perhaps that's what you should remember from this particular video. In NI, the movement precedes the moments. In SI, the moments precedes the movements. Hopefully that makes sense. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video, guys, and don't forget that I have written 2 books on the NI dominant called the INFJ, in case you didn't know. The latest one is called the Infinite Soul, on INFJ life in the modern world, looking at how INFJs can thrive in a world today, here and now, that they often consider hostile. So if you're curious, check the first link below, check the reviews, it's helped a lot of people, as well as this book, also helped a lot of people, the Ecstatic Soul, the first book in the Soul series on the INFJ, a new look at the INFJ personality, and this is pretty much the deepest investigation into the type that you could find online, particularly the mind of the INFJ. What's it like to have an INFJ mind? Check the book at the link below if you want to know more. And finally, guys, you know that I could not do this without you, so please consider supporting me on Patreon or a one-off donation on PayPal, which is available as well at the links below. You know that if you join me on Patreon for a pretty cheap cost, you support me and you help me keep this going, which is huge. But also you get access to a Discord server called the Fourfold, where you can interact with me and the community that is already building there, and we're having already really interesting conversations. You also get access to a bonus video, a deep dive into a topic of your choosing every 2-3 weeks. So if that sounds appealing, hopefully see you there. Okay, take care, guys, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.